First question is, why did the king want to know answers to 3 questions? Answer is, the king thought that he would never fail if he knew the right answers to 3 questions. Second question, messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to fetch wise men, to find answers to the question, to look for wise hermits, to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. Mark your choice. Answer is, messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to announce reward for those who could answer the questions. Complete the following sentences by adding appropriate part of sentences given in the box. Many wise men answered the king's question. Some suggested that there should be a council of wise men. Some else suggested that the king should have a timetable. The king requested the hermit. The king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound. But option says, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. To answer the 3 questions, but their answers were so varied and that the king was not satisfied and followed it strictly to help the king act at the right time. Answer is, many wise men answered the king's question, but their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. Some have suggested that there should be a council of wise men to help the king at the right time. Some else suggested that the king should have a timetable and follow it strictly. The king requested the hermit to answer the 3 questions. The king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound, but the bleeding would not stop. First question is, why was the king advised to go to magicians? Answer is, in order to decide the right time to do something, one needs to know the future, and that could be done by magicians only. So the king was advised to go to magicians. Second question is, in answer to the second question, whose advice did the people say would be important to the king? Answer is, to answer the second question, the advice of council or doctors and peers would be important. Third question is, what suggestions were in the answer to the third question? Answer is, a few suggestions were made in the answer to the third question. The most important thing was struggle to be science, fighting, and moreover religious worship. Fourth question is, did the wise men win the reward? If not, why not? Answer is, the wise men did not win the reward as they gave different answers to his question. Fifth question is, how did the king and the hermit help the wounded man? Answer is, the king with the help of hermit removed the wounded man's clothes, washed his wound and covered it with his handkerchief. He redressed till the blood stopped flowing. The sixth question is, who was the bearded man? Why did he ask for the king's forgiveness? The bearded man was the sworn enemy of the king who had put bearded man's brother to death. He had taken away all his property too. He had sworn revenge on the king, but the king had saved his life by dressing his wound. The bearded man felt grateful and asked for forgiveness. The seventh question is, the king forgave the bearded man. What did he do to show his forgiveness? Answer is, to show his forgiveness, the king promised to send his servants and a doctor to look after him. He was happy to made peace with the enemy. The king also promised to return his property. Question 8. What were the hermit's answers to the 3 questions? Write each answer separately. Which answer do you like most and why? The most important time was when the king was digging the beds for the hermit. The hermit then was the most important man. The most important business was to help the hermit. Second, the most important time was when the king was dressing the man's wound. The bearded man was the most important person, and the service given to that man was the king's most important business. The most important time is present. Most important person is with when one is at the moment. To do a good deed, the person is the most important business. I feel the third answer was the most appropriate one. If we do the right at the right time, present moment, everything will be all right in the future. Second question is, each of the following sentence has two blank. Fill in the blank with appropriate form of the word given in bracket. First one is, he has dash to help me. Do you think he will remember his dash? In bracket it is promise. The answer is, he had promised to help me. Do you think he will remember his promise? The first question is, the dash said that only fresh advice would make him change his dash. In the bracket, judgment. The second question is, I didn't notice any dash of opinion among the debaters, although they dash from one another over small points. Answer is differ. It's a fairly simple question to dash, but will you accept my dash as final? And the bracket it is answer. The answer to the first question is first judge and the second is judgment. In the second question's answer is difference and second differ. In the third question is answer and answer. The fourth one is necessary and necessity. And the answer to the fifth one is wise and wisdom. And the sixth is decide, decision. And the seventh one is forgiveness, forgive. The first question is, imagine you are the king, narrate the incident of your meeting the hermit. Begin like this. The wise men answered my questions, but I was not satisfied with their answer. One day I decided to go and meet the hermit. And the answer is, the wise men answered my question, but I was not satisfied with their answer. One day I decided to go and meet the hermit who was known for his wisdom. When I reached his hut, he was digging the earth. He greeted me and kept digging. I put my question for him, but he even kept mum. He was feeling tired. I took the spade and started digging for him. I repeated my questions for answering the questions. Just then a bearded man came there, and I had redressed his wound and clothed him. The hermit served him with food and shelter. Before coming back, I repeated my questions to the hermit. At last, the sage gave answers to my satisfaction. I had made peace with the enemy by then. The second question is, imagine you are the hermit. Write briefly incident of your meeting the king. Begin like this. One day I was digging in my garden. A man in ordinary clothes came to see me. I knew it was the king. And the answer is, one day I was digging in my garden. A man in ordinary clothes came to me. I knew it was the king, but I kept digging. I worked hard and got tired. He put three questions before me to answer, but I kept mum. He asked me to give him my spade, and he started digging. Just then I saw a bearded man coming and made the king turn around. I, with the help of the king, dressed the wounded bearded man and him in the hut. I served him with food and he slept. The king repeated his questions. Only then I gave the answers to his satisfaction. He regarded me with a bowed head and went to his capital.